Hello guys, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ifeoluwa if you are seeing me for the first time, and I'm an online fashion tutor. In this video I'll be teaching you guys how to draft and cut this Milkmaid top with Queen Anne's neckline. So if this is something you're interested in learning, stick around and watch this video till the end. If you are seeing this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do well to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to ask your questions in the comment section. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements you're going to need for this top: the bust measurements, the waist measurements, the hip measurements, the bust points, the under bust measurements, the armhole circumference, the across back, the top length, and then the front waistline measurements. So the first thing I'm going to do is to measure out my chest line measurements, and to get chest line measurement you are going to divide your armhole circumference by 2. So I have my armhole circumference, which is 16 divided by 2, which is 8. Then I'm going to mark out my bust points, my under bust, my front waistline measurements, and then the top length where I want the top to be. So I'm going to do the same thing at the other side and then connect together. So this is the shoulder line, this is the chest line, the bust points, the under bust, the front waistline, and then the top length or the hem line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create my armhole. So I'm going to be dividing my across back measurement by 2, which is 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. So I'm going to connect it from the shoulder line down to the chest line. Then on the shoulder line, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, and whatever I have left, I'm going to divide by 2, mark that point, and from that point, I'm going to go in by 0.75. Then on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust measurements by 4. So I have 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. Then I'm going to connect those points together to form my armhole. Now I'm going to take my neckline measurement. So I'm going to be using 3 inches for the width of my neckline and also 3 inches for the length of the neckline. So this is just the basic neckline for now. So later on we are going to be measuring out the neckline we'll be using for the top itself. So I'm going to connect my neckline together and also connect my shoulder slants together. Now what I'm going to do next is to take my bust span measurement, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. So I have 8 as my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 4 inches. So I'm going to take it from the chest line down to the hem line. So I'm going to use my ruler to connect together. Now on the waistline, I'm going to be taking the dart. So I'm going to be using 0.5 inches on both sides. So 0.5 inch here and also 0.5 inch here. Then I'm going to connect it to the bust point and also to the hem line. So 2 inches above the hem line. So that is how I'm going to connect the darts. Then I'm going to input my bust, waist, and hip measurement. So I already have my bust measurement here. So for the waistline measurement, I'm going to divide my waist by 4 plus 1 inch for darts. That is the 1 inch that we used there as the darts. So I have 8 inches plus 1 for that. That is 9 inches altogether. Now on the hem line or the hip line, I'm going to take my hip measurement, which is 44 divided by 4. Then I'm going to connect the points together. So on the hem line, I'm going to come up by 1 inch just to give the top a little shape. So I'm going to connect it back into the hem line. Now the next thing we are going to do is to create the neckline. So you can leave the neckline on the chest line, or you can go above, or you can go below. So it depends on how exposed you want the neckline to be. So I'm going to be leaving mine at 7 inches. I'm going to be creating mine at 7 inches. Then I'm also using 7 inches on the armhole. Then I'm going to connect together. Now on the armhole, I'm going to be coming in by 1.5 to create our Queen Anne's neckline. So you can use 1 inch or you can use 1.5. So it depends on how wide you want it to be. So I'm going to be using 1.5 from mine. So for this, you can connect with a straight line or you can just use a slight curve. So I'm going to be using a slight curve for mine. So this is going to be the yoke because I'm going to be cutting it out. Now to create the cup, I'm going to be using that point that I came in by 1.5. I'm going to be using that point and connect it to the under bust. So I'm going to be using my pencil first just to check how the curve is going to be. Then I'm going to use my marker to complete it. Then you can cut it out when you are satisfied with the curve. So this is going to be the cup. So after cross-checking all your measurements and you are sure you have everything accurately, you can proceed to cut out this pattern paper. So this is what you should have after cutting the front pattern. Now let's move on to the back pattern. So the first thing I'm going to be doing for the back is to take out my zip allowance. So I'm going to be marking 1 inch for the zip allowance. Then I'm going to be taking my chest line measurement, which is 8 inches. That is the armhole divided by 2. Then the waistline measurement, which is the front waistline measurement. We are using the same thing, which is 16 inches. And then the top length, which is 24 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, and then I'll connect together. So this is going to be the shoulder line, the chest line, the waistline, and then the hem line. So I'm going to label this part as the center back line. So that is the center back. Now for the armhole, now I'm going to be taking my measurements from the center back line. So my across back measurement, which is the shoulder measurement, divided by 2. Then I'm going to connect it from the shoulder line down to the chest line. Now I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the shoulder line, and whatever I have left I'm going to divide by 2, and from that point I'm going to be coming in by 0.5. Now on the chest line I'm going to divide the bust by 4. So I'm going to be taking the measurements from the center back line. Then I'll connect the points together with my French curve. Moving on to the neckline, I'm going to be using the same neck width I used as the front, which is 3 inches. Then for the depth, I'm going to be using 1 inch. So I'm going to connect that together and then connect my shoulder slants. Now to avoid any bulge on the zip line for the back, on the waistline, I'm going to be going in by 1 inch. So from that center back line, I'm going to be taking 1 inch inside. Then I'm going to be connecting it back to the chest line and also to the hem line. So this is going to be the new zip allowance. Now I'm going to input my bust, waist and hip measurement. So I already have my bust measurement there. Then for the waist measurement, I'll be starting from the new point. That is our new zip allowance. So I'm going to be dividing the waist by 4, and then I'll add 1 inch for the dart allowance. So I have 9 inches altogether. Then on the hem line, I'm going to be taking my hip measurement. Then I'll connect together. Then I'll do the same thing I did at the front and come up by 1 inch on the hem line. Now for the darts, I'm going to be taking the darts from the center back line. That is the original line that we have. So I'm going to be using the same 4 inches I used as the front. So I'm going to connect it from the chest line down to the hip line. Then on the waistline, I'm going to be taking 0.5 inches on both sides. So that is the 1 inch that we used as the dart allowance. Then on the chest line, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, and on the hip line I'm going to be coming up by 2 inches. Then I'll connect together. So guys, this is all for the back pattern. Then you can proceed to cut out what you have. So this is the front and the back pattern together. So I'm going to cut out on the fabric now. So this is the fabric I'll be using to cut out this top. So I'm going to fold it into 2 and then cut out the back pattern first. So here I'm going to add all the allowances that I have to add on the fabric. So for the side seam, I'm using 1.5 inches for the side seam allowance, and then I'm using 1 inch for the hem line allowance. Then I'll be using ½ inch for the armhole allowance, the shoulder slant, and then the neckline allowance. Then for the zip allowance, you don't need to add anything to the fabric because you already have the zip allowance on the pattern paper already. So I'm going to label my pattern paper so you can understand clearly. So that is going to be the center front, which is going to be on fold, and then that is the side front. So I'm going to be putting this arrow so that you know where you are going to cut as the side. So I'm going to be cutting the center front on fold. Then I'm going to be using 1 inch on the hem line and then ½ inch round. Now for the yoke, I'm also going to be using ½ inch round for the allowance. Then for the side front, I'll be using 1.5 inches for the side seam allowance, 1 inch for the hem line, and then for the rest I'll be using ½ inch. Now this is for the cup. Since we are going to be gathering the cup, I'll be adding extra inches. So I'm adding about 6 inches extra for the cup. Then I'm going to be taking 1 inch at the upper part and then about ½ inch at the lower part, and also ½ inch at the side. So to create my sleeve, I'll be taking the armhole of the front and the back. So I'm going to measure the armhole of the front and the armhole of the back and then add together. So I have about 8.75 here, which is the back. Then for the front armhole, I think I have about 8 inches. So 8 inches plus 8.75. So I have 16.75. So 16.75 divided by 2, that is what you are going to be using as the armhole for the sleeve. Then I'm going to fold the fabric into 2 for the sleeves and check if what I've folded is enough for the armhole. So from this margin that I have, I'm going to be taking the sleeve length plus 1 inch for allowance. So I'm going to be using about 10 inches for the sleeve length plus the 1 inch already that I have for the allowance. Then I'm going to be coming down by 4 inches from the margin. So that is where I'm going to be taking my armhole curve. Now from that margin, I'm going to be marking out my armhole, which I have divided by 2 already. Then I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches for the allowance. So I'm going to mark it from the, I'm going to create a curve from the margin down to the armhole that I already marked. So I'm going to be connecting from that armhole straight down. So I already marked that point, the M-line part, that is the down part that I'm connecting to. I already marked it as about 14 inches because I want to put elastic band. So my sleeve width originally is 15 inches divided by 2, which is 7.5. So I added extra inches for the elastic rubber, what I'll be using for the elastic rubber. So I added half inch to the curve while I was cutting out. So I added half inch as the allowance to the curve while cutting out. So I'm going to just notch this middle part so that I'll know how to join, where to join from when I'm joining to the top. So for the string we'll be using at the front for the top, I'm going to be cutting out about 25 inches or 24 inches. Then the width, I'm taking 1.5 inches for the width. So I'm going to cut out 2 of this. So guys, this is all for the cutting and the drafting of this Milkmaid top with Queen Anne's neckline. So in my next video, I'll be showing you guys how to sew this top from the beginning to the end. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye.